Hi everyone, I'm Elisha Krause, and on this week's episode of the Washington Examiner Newsmaker series, we are welcoming GOP Minority Whip Congressman Steve Scalise. Congressman, it's an honor to have you here. Thanks for joining us today.
Great to be with you. Thanks.
So I'm going to start with some of Joe Biden's cabinet picks, and I was wondering if you agreed with some of your colleagues in the Senate and Nikki Haley and others who have criticized President-elect or, potential President Biden, depending on whether or not you believe that he's going to end up being president of the United States, or now our audience can differ on that. But Nikki Haley and others are publicly concerned about his pick for OMB, Neera Tanden. Where do you stand on this?
Well, if you look at some of the people that he's saying he would have in his administration, when he ran, he said he wanted to unite the country. And then he picked some of the most divisive people who have said incredibly vile things about Republicans, about President Trump. I don't necessarily think that matches his rhetoric during the campaign, and let alone people like John Kerry as the global warming czar. Here's a guy who flies around on private planes telling you not to use fossil fuels and would try to get us back in the Paris Accord and the Iran deal. He helped negotiate the Iran deal, which gives Iran a nuclear weapon and undermines allies of ours around the world like Israel. So those are just really kind of curious picks and goes against the things he campaigned on.
And do you expect there to be a fight when it comes to his cabinet picks?
Well, clearly, the Senate's going to have a lot to say about that. Hopefully it's going to be a Republican Senate with the 2 seats in Georgia, and I feel confident we're going to hold both of those. But, it shows you just what's at stake in those 2 Senate races when you have Chuck Schumer saying, from New York saying, as Georgia, we change America. I don't think the voters in Georgia want to give their 2 Senate proxies to Chuck Schumer because New York values and Georgia values are a lot different.
So I spoke to Congressman Dan Crenshaw last week, and he said that, even if people are concerned about election discrepancies and election fraud, Georgia is so important. He said they need to put on their big boy pants and get out and vote. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely. And look, there's still things going on. I mean, these videos of people literally pulling suitcases from underneath tables after they kicked out all the poll watchers the night of the election. What was going on there? There's some serious questions still being raised. And again, this is video that I think those folks that pulled those suitcases of ballots out didn't know was being taken, and yet now the video is coming out. So all of this raises real questions. I've heard from so many people in Georgia who are angry about what happened on election night, but at the same time, they need a vote. And that's why President Trump is going there this weekend. And I talked to President Trump yesterday about a few things, including the Georgia races. And of course, he's all in. And then it's why he's going down. The vice president's going today. He's going down tomorrow to encourage people to vote. We're still dealing with other things relating to the national presidential election. But that election in Georgia in January, people have to vote if they don't want socialism.
So your district in New Orleans, Louisiana area was really one of the first hit incredibly hard by COVID earlier this year. There will be no Mardi Gras, they're saying, in 2021. There's going to be lots of other changes. We've seen continued lockdowns. I'm here in California, where unfortunately there's another lockdown, shutdown, whatever you want to call it. Where are you in the level of what should be federal? Now Biden is saying that in the first 100 days of his presidency, he wants everyone to still mask, which would put us, into May of 2021. So over a year of people wearing masks, compared to people like Governor Abbott and Governor Bill Lee of Tennessee, who have said, we're not going to do these statewide shutdowns. We're going to allow certain counties and cities to make their own decisions. How do you think that areas can best be prepared to take care of their populace without this overarching government control?
Well, I think both the president and the governors need to trust people because ultimately government is there to help and provide assistance where it's needed. But this idea that you can just shut everything down and no one will die. I mean, look at New York. They've had mandates on masks and all these other things and massive shutdowns, and people are still spiking. COVID cases are still spiking. The biggest problems they're having in New York is that people are dying from non-COVID related things. You've seen about a third of all small businesses in the state of New York are gone, dead. They literally closed down for good because of the massive shut-ins. And people, by the way, drug overdoses, suicides are through the roof right now. And this idea that you can just wear a mask and keep everybody at home and everybody's going to be fine is a farce. Again, these are dramatic increases in non-COVID related deaths because they're killing people's way of life. They're destroying people's careers and futures. And in kids, by the way, kids who are not affected by COVID anywhere near where other people are affected in different populations are being denied future opportunities by these school systems that are not educating kids in the classroom. We've seen the devastation. There are a lot of studies, scientific studies, American Academy of Pediatrics and others talking about the damage that these governors are doing to kids by not letting them be in the classroom learning because other places are. And in the meantime, those kids are being left behind. What's going to happen to them 10 years from now? It seems like they don't even want to talk about that. But these are all important issues that need to be raised. So for states like Florida, for example, where they've said, look, we're all adults. These are the risks that are out there. You can wear masks. You can do whatever. But take precautions, but live your life. Look, we wouldn't let people drive cars on the road if the only factor was if you drive a car, you have a higher chance of dying in a car wreck. Well, we still drive in cars. You put your seatbelt on. There are airbags. There are all kind of precautions. And people go out and they're smart about what they need to do. And that's where we need to be with this. The vaccines are about to start being distributed. And I think, by the way, that's a revolution that President Trump helped create with Operation Warp Speed. And we're at a point where we're going to have probably 2 vaccines approved and distributed by the FDA very soon. That's revolutionary. That's never happened in the history of a virus. Like literally a year later, we've got 2 FDA-approved vaccines ready to go to save people's lives. Hopefully that changes the game and lets people open up again. But this idea that you can just shut your whole economy down and everybody's going to be fine is a farce. And by the way, these governors who are doing these things and these mayors who are doing these things aren't even living by their own rules. They're telling you to change your lifestyle. Don't hang out with your family for Thanksgiving, and they're hanging out with their family. That hypocrisy, I think, is what's the worst of all of this, is they know the things that they're telling people to do are not realistic and don't make any sense because they're doing those very things that they're telling you not to do. That hypocrisy needs to end. These crazy regulations need to end.
Don't even get me started on that. I'm in a state with many hypocrites, from Pelosi to Newsom to Garcetti, and the list goes on. You mentioned, unfortunately, all of those closed small businesses in New York. That's happened here in California. The restaurant industry is just gutted. Of course, with the new lockdown, they're now saying that hairstylists, nail salons, gyms, etc., are supposed to be reclosed. And yet, Democrats who have control of the House right now are holding up more aid to these small businesses. What's going on there?
Right, and this is one more piece of Speaker Pelosi's hypocrisy is, she'll tell the hairstylists that they can't go back to work, and these are small business folks who are struggling, and yet she'll go to her hair salon without a mask privately when she thinks nobody's watching. Of course, it was caught on video, and then she says she was set up. Only reason she was set up is because she got caught doing what she's telling you not to do. I don't disparage her for going. I disparage her for telling you not to go when she's going herself. That's what they don't get. And then they held up relief for small businesses. That's been a frustration, by the way, for months. We've got a bill that would renew the Paycheck Protection Program. It was incredibly successful, saved millions of jobs, millions of small businesses, and yet there's $137 billion left in that fund, but the fund is locked. It's expired. We're trying to renew that and let businesses who are struggling, if you're doing better, great, but if you're struggling, you should be able to go for a second round of those forgivable loans, and it would save millions more jobs, thousands more small businesses. Pelosi's been holding that up for months because, and she didn't want President Trump to get a win. Well, look, the election's over. If they put that bill on the floor today, it would pass with over 400 votes. But she won't let that come to a vote on the floor. But what she is bringing on the floor today is a bill to legalize marijuana. Think about how out of touch that is. We're literally voting today on a bill to legalize pot, but she won't bring up the PPP bill to save businesses who are dying on the vine. How many businesses will go under just the next week waiting for Pelosi to stop holding them hostage? When those businesses could be saved today, the president would sign that bill today. She won't even let it come up for a vote.
The good news is that we have been able to, across the country, flip seats, even in places here like California, from Democrat to Republican. You're going to be welcoming in January a lot of new colleagues, including a wave of Republican women. What are your goals for the spring legislative session, and what are your thoughts on this new wave of more Republican women joining Congress than ever before?
Yeah, first of all, to your point, it's such an exciting new class when you meet. I campaigned for a lot of these candidates at the time during these last few months, and then to see them win their races. And I was just this morning meeting with Stephanie Bice, who's the class president for this great new class of incoming freshmen. Great Republican leader from Oklahoma, served in their state Senate, is going to be a great leader here, like so many others. And they're going to bring a lot of energy to our conference. They already have, because we've been meeting with them during this transition period where they're getting their orientation up here in D.C. So you're in meetings with them a lot. And, they're focused on this battle. It's a battle of freedom versus socialism. Many of them ran against socialists, beat these socialists. There's still a few of them left that we're going to beat in 2 years to win the House back. But for now, the ones that flip these Democrat seats, like you mentioned, 4 seats in California that we won back from Democrats, because even in parts of California, they're done with socialism. And so, the battle continues. Look, AOC is not letting up. She's going to still push a socialist agenda. But in the meantime, we're pushing back, and we've got some great reinforcements coming, including, like you said, some great new Republican women in our conference, African Americans, Hispanics. It's a very diverse class of conservative Republicans coming to battle for the future direction of this country against the socialists who want to take this down.
Well, Congressman, thank you so much for your time, and good luck, voting on that pot legislation and getting Pelosi to focus on the things that really matter.
Yeah, really sad. So many small businesses, their future dreams are going to go up in smoke, and Pelosi's bringing a bill to legalize pot instead of helping them. It's disgraceful, but we're going to keep battling. We're going to keep fighting for those hardworking families, and hopefully we're going to start getting wins soon. And in the meantime, Merry Christmas to everybody out there if I don't see you before then.
Merry Christmas to you, and thanks for being here.
Thanks.